it's a lot easier to paint that detail when it's really big. Like other your brush like fits in the creases of those lips, you know what I mean? Rather than trying to paint them actual size, then you got to have a brush that's got like two little hairs and a magnifying glass. Like,
Awesome. Well, I'm Adam. Thank you both for doing this.
yeah, man, thanks for having us.
Of course. This is about you both and your journey in music and the band and the new album and everything else that's happening.
Yeah.
Cool. Um,
I apologize. Give me 30 seconds and I'll be right back. Continue on without me.
okay, we'll start
Yeah.
with Joseph's story then.
Yeah, we would love to, Darren. See ya.
Right on, man. Well, the band, from what I was reading, started in Atlanta. Are you originally from Atlanta?
No, I've lived here for like 16 years, going on 17 years, I think, but I'm from Alabama originally, down the
Oh,
Gulf Coast.
okay. What part of Alabama?
Across the bay from Mobile, near
Okay.
Gulf Shores, that area down there. Yeah,
Rad. So fairly close to the water there, or not so much?
very much so. Yeah,
Oh, cool. Yeah,
yeah.
I live in Nashville now, but last year my wife and I went down to Orange, like Floribama, like Orange Beach, I think is what it's called. That was
Yeah, man.
cool down there.
It's an experience for sure.
Yeah.
But
That Floribama like bar thing is rad though. I mean, there's like all these rooms set up. Have you been? I'm sure you've been in there. There's like all these rooms and
totally.
you're kind of it's like a maze and like each room has a different band playing. It was really cool.
It's very much gentrified these days. You know what I mean? Like that place back in the day was like full of like almost literal pirates. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's not a place
Wow.
that you just like roll
Hang
in with the
out.
family. Yeah, no.
Oh, really?
No.
Yeah, they've done a good job. I mean, they gave us free ticket. We ate at the restaurant
Yeah,
and we're like
that's a,
talking to the hostess. We're like, what's up with that place across the street? She's like, oh, if you show your receipt, you get it for free. They have bands and stuff. I was like, oh, rad. We just went and checked it out.
yeah, it's a very different place now. But yeah, like that being said, that part of Alabama, I think, is very much an anomaly from the rest of the state, pretty much. So when I
Okay.
tell people that I'm from Alabama, they're like, "What?" You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
it, but yeah. So
Were
it's a
you
little bit
close
of
to
a.
that area or not so much?
So yeah, I probably lived like I don't know, about a 30-minute drive from
Oh,
Orange
wow.
Beach. There,
That's
yeah, yeah,
cool. That's really cool.
just a little
Uh,
bit inland. Yeah,
and then you moved to Georgia after that. You said you've been there in 12 years about now.
yeah. So I left there, went to college at Auburn University, which is like, you know, about 110 miles from Atlanta in East
Yeah.
Alabama, and experienced being landlocked for the first time in my life. That was really shocking. And then I guess it didn't matter enough how shocking it was because I moved to Atlanta after that. Yeah.
There you go. How did you get into music? Did you come from like a musical family, creative household at all?
I mean, not so much, no. I have an uncle that played drums in a band when I was growing up, and I thought it was super cool.
Okay.
I would get to see them occasionally, you know. He had this like red sparkle drum kit that I thought was really, really beautiful. I just wanted to play drums. Um, my parents, instead of getting me a drum kit, got me an acoustic guitar for my seventh birthday, and I've
Wow,
been
that's
playing.
young.
But yeah, I've been playing guitar ever since. I think they just thought about me playing drums in the house all the time. We're like, I think he's more of a guitar player, you know. So yeah, so now I'm 40 and I still want to play drums and I still can't. So
That's funny.
there
Yeah, I
you
have
go.
a 7-year-old, and when COVID first started, I mean, he was like 3 or 4, and he had so much energy, and it was like, what am I gonna do? And we lived in a townhouse at the time. We got him a drum set, but we got him like the electric one, so it has a real kick, so it can kind of get loud and annoying, but at least he
Yeah,
wouldn't be driving the whole neighborhood like up the wall. So
right.
technology has changed that game a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
So you started guitar at 7, and then when did you start like writing songs or joining a band or anything like that? Was that much later?
So yeah, I mean it was. Well, like, you know, I like played uh, you know, with friends in middle school and stuff. I started to really like dig playing guitar a lot in middle school.
Mhm.
Because that's when I really started to find music of my own, you know.
Mhm.
I'd always really loved music and wanted to be a musician, I think, for as long as I can remember. But that's when it really started to kind of dig in. But I took I took surfing way more seriously than playing guitar back then, or like being in a band. I don't think I really had like a lot of confidence around being in a band back then. And so when I left the coast for the first time and couldn't surf anymore, um, that's when I really started playing guitar, like 3, 4 hours a day. Like if I
Okay.
wasn't in class, I was playing guitar. And that's when I decided like that this is something that I want to dedicate way more time doing rather than just like jamming with people or being in like a band that lasts for a minute and then it's, not a band anymore. So
Right. So once you got to school and uh wait, did you start a band there when you're in college?
yeah, I played music there. Nothing noteworthy that I would be willing to talk to you about on this podcast.
Okay. Right on.
Yeah, but yeah,
Um,
I played music there a lot. Yeah,
cool, man. Well, let's get to you, Darren, real quick, and then I want to know about moving to Georgia and how this band started. But Darren,
sure.
were you born and raised in Atlanta?
No, I am from northwestern Pennsylvania, small
Oh,
town,
wow.
and
Okay.
yeah, very isolated, very small.
Right
Uh,
on. What was it like growing up there?
it
Besides
was
being isolated and small.
it was yeah, it was like 10 years behind everybody else, whether it was haircuts or clothing or whatever it was. Yeah, so yeah, it was, but I didn't know any better. I didn't know any different, and yeah, that's the way it was.
Right
So
on.
um,
What about you as far as the musical family or creative household?
it's a weird one because neither of my parents played, and I didn't know that anybody in my family did or anything like that. And then it was years later when I found out that my grandfather actually played, and I was in high school, and I started playing sax uh, like fourth, fifth grade kind of thing. Was doing that, but I was just hungry. I was just like, I'll play whatever. This is fun. This is musical, whatever. And
Mhm.
then for like a talent show, some friends of mine and I were going to do something, and I needed a guitar. And my dad's like, "Well, just maybe talk to your grandpa. You can borrow his." I'm like, "Grandpa has a guitar," and
Wow.
never knew it. And then next thing I know, I find out he's got this, beautiful '50s, Gibson acoustic and some, electric and other stuff. I just never saw him playing when I was a kid. But my dad said that when he was growing up, my grandpa was playing it all the time. So it just kind of missed a generation, I guess, with things. But yeah, so just yeah, it was kind
Did
of
you
on
end
my
up playing his guitar? You ended
own.
up getting that
Did.
guitar?
I
Wow.
he let me borrow it.
Okay, I
Uh,
was gonna say, damn, that thing is probably expensive.
I went. I didn't know that either. There was no internet. There was nothing else back then.
Sure.
I borrowed it. I left it in the backseat of my car. Went to high school that day, and then we had a fire drill. So we're all in the parking lot, whatever. And I happened to be by my car and looked at my car, and the guitar was gone. Um,
Oh my
I
yeah.
God.
But the weird story was that it was just like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. And I'm freaking out. But when I told my dad, he freaked out even more because he's like, you
Right.
have no idea what that guitar means. When he got out of the military, that was the first thing he bought, et cetera, et cetera. So, and that's when I found out the real history of that guitar and what it meant to the family. And, so luckily my
wow.
band instructor got involved. We put flyers up around the school. And like the next day, I got called out of class. Of course, I didn't sleep, couldn't sleep, whatever. Next day, got called out of class, and somebody had found it. Somebody had got it out of my car and threw it down the hill, and it was in the bushes down there all night long. And luckily, didn't rain, didn't do like no moisture, and I got it back the
Wow.
next day. And I went to my
Damn.
grandfather and like, Grandpa, I found, because I'd already told him that I lost it or got stolen. And the next day, I had to like go back and, Grandpa, we found it. And he's like, cool. Grabbed it, put it immediately back in the closet and closed
Yeah,
it.
he's like,
Like,
well, that's the last time you're ever playing this guitar.
I didn't get a chance to play it either, so I had to find a different guitar for the talent show or whatever. So
Wow.
Oh
Dude,
my God.
I've never heard that story before. That's
yeah,
so
yeah.
wild.
You get the like I'm very disappointed feeling from when people say stuff like,
Uh,
yeah,
Oh,
that's I never
sure.
did that hard up to that point in my life.
Oh my
So
God. Did you guys find out the dick that took it out of your car?
no, I never did.
That sucks.
But at that point, I was
wow.
back. It was cool.
All that,
We're
all
moving
that
on.
matters is you got it
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Oh
And,
my Lord.
and many years later, when he passed away, I did inherit it. So I do have it in my possession now. So it's still like, yeah,
It's in the family. You're not gonna leave in your car anymore.
it's not going to be in my car. But geez, yeah. So,
Okay. So you were able
yeah.
to play this. You played the talent show, you said?
We did. I had to borrow a guitar from somebody else. It was obviously not nearly as good, but
Right. What did you play? Where's it original song or did you just do a cover?
no, we did a cover. That was Indigo Girls, Closer to Fine.
Nice.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're learning so much about Darren right now. This is awesome.
I know he loves it. Yeah. He loves having these things. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what it was.
That's awesome. And then from, you said seventh grade, I believe, on, were you playing in bands or anything?
I mean, I think it started because I was playing in different bands like concert band and marching band and jazz band and stuff. We would just kind of pockets of us would just kind of get together and do stuff on the side.
Okay.
I did have a band where it was me on Barry sax. I had a bass player and I had a drummer, and we were doing it. And then like suddenly Morphine came out too, so it was like, holy shit, this is exactly what we've been trying to do, but obviously way better because there's vocals and slide of bass and whatever. But we were there, and then we got a lot of inspiration from that. But we would write tunes and then make cassettes, sell a shit ton of them, and then we would. The band instructor was so supportive and was like, "Hey guys, you guys want to? We're going to play the nursing home. You guys want to play your songs for the
Oh,
girls?"
wow.
Yes.
Yeah, so we the three
You
of
got to
us.
open up for the school band?
Kind of, yeah. At the nursing home, okay, yeah. But and
That's
then
cool.
marching band people would learn the songs and we would start playing them at the football games, whatever. Just whatever. It was fun.
Damn, you got to play your own originals at like football games like that?
Yeah, it was all instrumental stuff, so it
But
was just
still,
kind of
that's pretty
fun,
amazing.
groovy. Yeah, it was. It kind of just, but the bug was there. I couldn't stop. So
Wow.
yeah,
Did you end up going to college or anything for music if you're
I
that
did.
kind of involved in band?
Yeah, I was a sax major and a bass minor um, for a semester. um, my sax guy was a very old school classical way, and I was like, I'm not. I don't know what this is. I'm a skateboarder, punk rock, whatever it is, like rock and roll. We obviously didn't we didn't get along very well.
Sure.
So I dropped out and I went to college with for audio engineering and got my degree with that and been kind of doing that along with bands ever since. So
Rad. Did you go to school in Pennsylvania, or is
I
that
did
when you moved?
first.
Okay.
I first did, and then I moved to Florida, and that's what got me into Florida. I'm sorry. Well, this has nothing to do with Florida, but yeah. Then I moved to Florida to go to Full Sail audio engineering, that kind of stuff, and I was in
Mhm.
Florida in general for 17, 18 years.
Wow.
Where I moved to Atlanta about
Okay.
14 years
So,
ago now. So
so what took you to Atlanta then, Joseph? Was it music or something totally different?
Listen, I would, I mean, yeah, something totally different. It was like a relationship brought me here. Um,
Okay.
didn't last. I didn't think I would be here very long afterwards, and then I just stayed here. There was like a lot of opportunities to play music here, especially compared to where I came from,
Hmm.
and seemingly a lot of opportunities to be an artist as well. So yeah, just been here.
Just hung out. Okay, cool. And then you
Yeah,
played in multiple bands prior to this one, or a bunch
yeah,
of projects
totally.
before this?
Yeah.
N-
Um, Played in several bands and then kind of got jaded with putting bands together and bands falling apart.
mhm.
And I just did singer-songwriter stuff for a good lot of years without playing in bands at all. And that's like kind of the time that I met Darren. And he told me if I ever got tired of doing that dumb singer-songwriter thing, that we should start a band together. And I did get tired of it. So, and we started a band together. Yeah.
How quickly after he told you that? Would you stay solo for a
No,
while?
no, it'd been
yeah,
years.
no,
It was years in the work.
yeah, it was a couple of years, I think,
Yeah.
Um,
but yeah,
I was working on his engineer. I was mastering whatever his acoustic stuff, and so we were always crossing paths and being at the same shows, watching other bands, and yeah, it was just kind of a yeah. It took me a while to
oh,
break
okay.
down. So
So he was coming in to record with you or master stuff with you, and then that's how you initially met. That's interesting.
yeah, so I just
hmm
going to shows and just yeah, just like, oh, you're wearing my friend's band shirt, and he's like, oh yeah, I didn't know you're friends with them, and whatever, just a small world and being new in town for me and not having anybody or any, yeah, just being completely fresh and new.
Mhm.
Yeah, to see something similar or familiar like that. Like, oh hell yeah, we should be friends. Not knowing anything, not knowing any better. It's not how that stuff works. He's this weird, creepy guy. Like, he's wanting to be my friend,
And then the two of you end up then forming Reconciler right there, or not there, but like after conversations begin, and that's kind of when you start playing together.
Yeah, definitely. I think we started kind of working on song ideas in 2015 together, and it just started being a thing where like Darren had a really good home studio set up, and I would go over there once a week or so, and we would just like work for a few hours and work on these ideas that I had. And I think it was pretty slow forming because I was trying to get out of being in a place where I was singing a lot quieter and playing primarily acoustic guitar for years at this point. And like trying to be like, all right, what's like, how do I get back on the other side of these tracks, and get back in shape for that stuff and, figure out how I'm going to write this stuff, how we're going to write this stuff, and how it's going to sound. So we kind of got to start pretty slow where it was just casual of like, let's figure these things out and even see if it seems like they're going to float at all. And I had a show booked, a solo show booked with Drag the River
Oh wow.
that are good friends of Darren's as well.
Mhm.
And we were like jamming, and I was like, yeah, I was like, I'm playing with Drag the River soon. You should come out to that show. And he was like, well, we got these like 6 or 7 tunes. Why don't we just get a drummer and a bass player? I mean, a drummer and another guitar player, and just make that the first band show. And that was like 3 weeks before that show. So we did, and it like
Wow.
worked out. And then that was our first show. Yeah.
And you found just somebody to play drums, or was the drummer? There's only three of you. It's a three-piece now,
Yeah,
correct?
we started as a 4 piece though.
Okay.
Yeah. So like our first EP was a 4 piece, and then by the time we made an LP, we were down to a 3 piece. Um, but yeah, so that drummer stayed with us up until I guess the end of 2019, something
Oh
like.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
years. I can't remember
yeah,
exactly when, but yeah, it sounds about right.
Because
yeah.
you all
So
put out "Set Us Free," and then from what I was reading, like you had a big tour scheduled, and you're going to go to Europe, and then obviously the pandemic shuts everything
yeah,
down.
Yeah.
yeah. So that record came out like super early in 2019. So we played a bunch of shows that year.
Okay.
Um, and like we toured more than we ever have that year. And I think, we're all people that have full-time jobs at this point and a lot of obligations. And, Kelsey, our first drummer, he has 2 kids and stuff. And like we were touring a lot that year, and he was like, dudes, like I can't, I can't,
Yeah. Married,
he was like,
kids, and which neither
yeah,
one of us were married at the time. So yeah. So
so it was definitely not like, not a bad parting, but it was like by the time we got to that end of that year, he was like, I got to figure out how to like sleep at some point. I can't work 60-hour weeks and then keep
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
on tour with you,
$100%.
with you
Yeah.
knucklehead.
yeah.
uh, so then when COVID hits, is that when you start working on this record, or was it like obviously pretty, you know, shitty for everyone, but like to have this whole being stoked on like, oh, we're gonna do our first European tour and the album's doing, and then it's like all that's taken away. At what point do you start working on this album?
I mean, I think we started 2020 off with a bunch of plans and stuff, but then by springtime, that was obviously changed. But like, I don't know that we did really much at all for all of 2020. Like, I don't know when that Patreon stuff kicked in. But that's like what got us even like kind of communicating as a band again was like we had like we had gotten a new drummer at that point who had played 7 shows with us, I think, that were all on one tour.
Yeah.
Oh
that,
wow.
that was it.
Yeah.
And then that was it. But like our old label AF like started a Patreon that we would like record things remotely from home and stuff like that and submit like one song a month. So like, but I think for the most part, Darren and I were just re-recording songs that we had and doing like acoustic versions of it, where like I was playing acoustic guitar and singing, and he was playing like baritone sax on it and stuff instead of playing bass.
Oh wow,
So we were just kind of like reimagining songs that we had.
that was probably a pretty cool experience. I mean, especially for you, Darren, as a growing up as a band guy, then be able to play that on a record. If you listen to the albums, it does
Yeah.
sound like
We've
a
actually,
baritone sax would work. I mean, not work, but doesn't vibe with what you've recorded on these songs. As far
yeah,
as,
Yeah.
there was a short period. Yeah, we played a couple shows in that lineup years ago when we first special events where I think
We
Kelsey, our
did.
drummer, couldn't play the show, but we really felt like we needed to be a part of the show. So we did two. I think we did two shows as a duo in that lineup. So it's cool because I can play the bass parts on the Barry, and it's fun. And he plays a little more cleaner, not a little less yelling and in your face. But yeah, it's a cool little vibe, kind of creepy, kind of dark, and so I think and after stepping away from that for so many years, and then with doing this Patreon stuff, it was what if we did something like that again? And so we did a couple tunes that were like that, but it was just a throwback in a way. Nothing too crazy.
that's cool. Did you guys? I mean, that must have been a pretty fun process, though, like being able to kind of restructure songs like that.
I mean, I think it was definitely a bit of excitement in like a really, really weird time where it was like, oh shit, let's even figure out how like the shit I have at my house is gonna work with the shit you have at your house, and I can't go over there, so I'm gonna record guitar and vocals over here. And
Oh, and then send them over.
yeah, and I'm the furthest thing from an audio engineer, and he's a real audio engineer. So like half the tracks that I'm sending him, he's like, "Ooh, I think that one's corrupted." He's just like throwing it away. He's like, "I don't want that on the fucking song." Yeah, you don't think you don't think I no.
You're like, but it sounds fine on my end over at my house.
Yeah, looks good. But yeah, but I mean, we weren't. I mean, no one was doing anything, not even concerning music. Like, no one was
Right.
doing anything in life. It was like, oh shit, we have a song to submit by Tuesday. Let's figure this out. So it was really fun. And I think like noticing, like, that like jolt of energy that I got personally from like being like, oh, we got to make a song and submit it to this thing or whatever, was like, dude, not playing music is like having such a strong effect on my life that like, I think a lot, I mean, a lot of people did. I think like when they got to this point, it was like, dude, I'm kind of at the end of my rope with playing music anyway. Like, this is the great time to just hang it up. But I felt like getting to do that stuff and realizing how it was really making me feel was like, I can't, as soon as we can get back in the room and start playing music again, I got to do that. So I think that was like the spark that made sure that we were going to come back and make another record.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine how it's so hard for artists. I mean, unless you're a Taylor Swift, like during that whole time, not being able to play live shows just was crushed so many bands. I mean, that's how a lot of the income comes from the shows and the merch and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, we don't make any money playing music anyway. We probably saved money by not playing music for a year and a half. I'll be honest with you. Like, like I didn't have to spend, that saved me like $1,000 set of tires on the van in those couple of years.
There you go.
But but yeah, it was difficult for everybody, and like,
Sure.
but I think we were definitely just like chomping at the bit to be able to get back in there and do it in whatever capacity that we could.
And so once everything opens up, is that when you start working on this record? So everyone could be in the same room, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think whenever we first started being able to get back in the room again and just like, we just started jamming once a week again, and like realizing how absolutely awful we are, as a band at that point, like just out of shape, can't palm mute, can't sing, can't be on key. can't remember how to play our songs. You know what I mean? It was like so much atrophy of everything, like so we had to like just get back in shape again. But yeah, and I remember I was feeling like a just I don't know, kind of paralyzed as far as songwriting goes at the time. I just like couldn't get it to really start flowing again, even though I wanted to. But Darren brought in a riff that ended up being that 38 special song on the record, and that was like the first new thing that we worked on for the record.
Not special.
Oh shit! Sorry, don't sue us. 38 regular. Yeah.
I was gonna say. 38
anyway,
regular.
it's moving on.
It's just a funny joke, not a ripoff. Get out of here. So yeah, he brought that riff in, and I think I went home after that practice and sat on my back deck with my acoustic guitar, and I think I might have sent you guys a voice memo of like singing all the lyrics that night, even if not, it was the next night. I don't remember, but it just like kind of getting that riff into a place where it needed to be during the course of that practice. I just went home, and then just like kind of the floodgates opened up from there. Like,
yeah, I was gonna ask you, at that point, was it like, okay, you got that one out and everything else kind of came?
Yeah, totally.
Quickly?
It was like just drop the hammer, and like, it took us a while for various reasons to actually be able to get to the recording stage, but like by the time we got there, we had 17 songs,
And that's only because we cut it off. That's like at that point the juices were flowing, and there were song ideas coming everywhere, and everybody was inspired. We were inspiring each other, and it was just it's like we have to like slow down. We can't record all these songs, and we don't have the time or the budget or the so just, but it was happening. It's cool to see the spark flamed, and so it was good. So,
and then you took the 17 and cut it down to what, 13 on the album?
We recorded 16.
Oh, you recorded 16. Okay.
We got a couple up our sleeve.
There you go.
A couple ideas.
Is this the first album? Is this the first album you guys have done with Smart Punk?
Yes.
How did that relationship form?
I've known Grant from Smart Punk for a lot of years. Back in Florida, I had a studio for a period of time where he was one of my partners in it, and so this is long before he even did Smart Punk. But so I've known Grant forever. I actually recorded his old bands, which is how I got into the studio. So him and I have always kind of known each other. And then he started doing Smart Punk, and we just kept seeing him around. Obviously, all of the people he got to work with him are mutual friends of ours too. So it's pretty awesome to him just get that Orlando family together, all kind of with the same purpose. But yeah, we just kept running into him. All these festivals and all the things and all the bands he's putting out were friends of ours. So over the years, we just kind of always had, Joseph and I would talk about it, like, okay, if our label doesn't work out, like what would we do? And then it's like, well, why not? Why wouldn't we just call Grand or Smart Pump and see, what that would be? I'm like, yeah, makes sense. And then when that time came, it was like, okay, is this the time that we make the call? And what if they say no, or what if they're busy? And it's like, so we had a mental short list. I think we had a list. I don't know if we ever we had ideas, but I don't know if we ever agreed on those ideas. Luckily, we didn't have to. It was
I wanted Gaffin first, and you wanted RCA first, and then so we settled in the middle at Smart Punk.
We decided on Smart Punk.
It's like it wouldn't be fair to either one of us to choose either one of those, really, So we both like Smart Punk, so that's where we went first.
Smart Punk has some rad bands. I mean, that's a
totally
great label to be with. That's so cool. Did I see, Joseph, you did the art? You're an artist, right? Did you do the art for the cover of the record?
Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's such a great, I mean, that's really, really cool. Is that something you kind of do more full time?
Yeah. So I'm a visual artist and custom furniture maker by day. That's my my main safe, secure job outside of playing music.
That's cool, man. That's a great. Did you do that just for the album, or was it something you had and you're like, oh, this would be a cool cover?
I mean, so it's like
Darren's laughing. Is that a bad question?
I'm
he's just
seeing how he answers this. That's all.
he's just scared to see if I'm gonna talk for the next 45 minutes without taking a breath or not.
Oh, I'm ready.
No, so like that painting comes from like an ongoing series. That's like third in a series. I have the fourth one almost done now, but like they're really big. That one is like it's over 4 feet in the vertical direction. So it's really big.
Whoa.
So they take a long time to paint because they're oil paintings.
Damn, I was
And
gonna ask you what medium it is. That's an oil. It almost looks. It looked just
yeah,
because I'm looking at it on my computer. It looks just like you did it digitally. But damn,
sure.
that's
I think
crazy.
most people think it's a digital collage, but it's like it's sort of
Yeah.
taking like a collage approach to oil painting.
Yeah, like the
But
lips are so detailed.
Yeah.
Like, damn, and the
That's-
teeth.
yeah.
Holy shit! Like the lighting.
thanks,
Wow,
man.
man, that's really good.
It's a lot easier to paint that detail when it's really big. Like your brush like fits in the creases of those lips, you know what I mean? Rather than trying to paint them actual size, then you got to have a brush that's got like two little hairs and a magnifying glass. Like my
Sure, but
my hands
still.
like shake. My hands get all shaky. I have to paint big.
Damn.
But
So you said that's it's 4 feet tall though. That's crazy.
yeah, it's probably like, and maybe it's bigger than that. It's probably about 50 inches by like 38 or 40, something like that. And like one of the other ones from maybe the second single that came out, like all the singles have different paintings on the covers. But one of those is like the other vertical one's like 6.5 feet tall. That one's huge.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But like, so it's a series where I'm sort of like, that I started in like probably right at the end of 2019 and really got going with it in 2020. And like those paintings are kind of exploring the same ideas that this record is. And like when I got to like the point where I was painting that third one, we were like really kind of starting to button up the writing of this record. And, it just like made sense that that would be the one that went on the cover. Because I felt like things I was trying to address in those paintings was kind of getting dialed in, and the things that I was trying to talk about in songs were getting dialed in, and those things were becoming more and more the same. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not like we made a record and I set out to be like, all right, I'm going to paint a cover for this record now, and this is the cover of the record. It's like was getting there from two different angles at the same time, and like that's where both of my like disciplines collided, was finishing that painting and finishing this record.
Oh, interesting. Well, can you talk about that a little bit? Like what the album's about, and then how it kind of relates to the art?
Yeah, I would be thrilled to. Yeah. Yeah, Darren, if you have somewhere to be, just you can check back in a little while.
And actually, I have a question before you answer that one, because I'm super fascinated. Is the Shots in the Dark and then Never Fade Away, are those the first two in the series of paintings, or are those totally different? Or are those not? Because one of them has the lips on it too.
Those are the first two, yeah, but the Never Fade Away one is the first one.
Okay, so that was the first one, and then the next one was Shots in the cover that you have for that one, and then the album, and then you said there's a fourth one in the series too.
Yeah, it's almost done. I just haven't been able to work on it in a couple months. So
okay, and that
we'll see.
Will that come out as a piece of the same album?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it'll work out that like the stuff that we're holding back right now, it'll be on that, or maybe it'll be something else.
Cool.
I don't know. We'll see.
And as far as that, did you do Set Us Free also?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
That one's really big. It's like I don't know, like 5 feet by 6 feet or something almost, I think.
Jeez. Yeah, these are so good, man.
Thanks. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's awesome for me because I'm not a visual guy, and he is obviously. But yeah, so it's kind of a amazing tag team, but it's also doomed because I'll do the audio side of it and he does the visual side of it. So we're always kind of busy, but we're always like leaning on each other for another person to do something. So
wow.
but it's awesome because we can do it in house. So
sure. Yeah, I mean, like that's such a rad art. What about the Ship Thieves album, the split you did? Did you do that one too? I mean, it looks similar.
I did that one too, and I painted that one specifically for that split. Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool.
I was trying you know, I got like I was I got to talk to Wallard on the phone, and I just like wanted to get the lyrics for his song, and also just talk to him about what it was about.
Hmm.
And like I took both of our songs and the lyrics and kind of sat down with both of them and kind of made that image out of like merging our two songs together or whatever.
Wow.
Um, but like you know, and it like it's a little bit of like an apocalyptic kind of scene there or whatever. But like that line in the Ship Thief song is like it keeps referencing a tunnel over and over again. And
Hmm.
like that's kind of where the shape of that panel came from. I just like
Okay. Yeah, the door, like the
yeah,
yeah.
and like because that's the shape of the actual panel. It's not like a square painting with just that image on it. It's shaped like that.
Oh, no
Um,
way. That's awesome.
yeah,
So
the
like the
same with this.
canvas itself is like that. It's like a
Yeah,
it looks like a church window ish. I don't know what you call that
yeah,
kind of
and
window.
the same elliptical, I think.
Okay.
Um, but and Set Us Free is the same. It's like a wood panel that's shaped like that.
Damn, that's
Um,
awesome.
but yeah, so it's just like you know about like pulling subject matter out of these songs and trying to make an image that to me like kind of communicated where those songs were going or whatever.
Hmm. And that's what you
Yeah,
said
it
you
was.
did with this album. So can you yeah tell me about that?
Yeah. So like this record, I mean, I don't know. I like fortunately at this point I've gotten to like write about it a lot and talk about it a lot. So I think I'm getting better at getting like the short answer rather than having to like walk you through my entire life and our entire life as a band to get there. Um,
I got
but
time.
like, you know, it's like that. It's
I
kind
have
of
to
a
get my
thing.
kid from the bus stop for a bit.
Like I don't know if you like I don't know if you've experienced this thing with like memorization where like if you like know all the words to a song, like you can't just say like what the 11th line is in the song. You got to do the 10 that come before it, and then you'll know what the 11th one is or whatever.
Right,
But
right,
like,
right, right. You're like,
yeah,
okay, I know I'll know the lyrics, but I gotta like ramp up to it.
Yeah,
yeah, and like, and that's the only way I know my own songs as well. It's frustrating for Darren sometimes. He's like, "What's that one part?" And I'm like, "Well, let me play the 2 minutes that come before it, and then when we get there,
Figure it
you just
out.
throw your hand up, and I'll know what the fuck you're talking about." Uh, but so yeah. That being said, I think I'm getting better at like the short answer of this stuff. But like this record is really about like just trying to shift perspectives and find a more positive outlook on life. Like, sort of feeling like we live in absolute chaos at every turn, but like trying to like find a new lens to find like beauty and positivity in that chaos. And like starting to realize that if you do start looking for it amid all of that chaos, you can really start to find it again. You know what I mean? And just the same thing with like, you know, despair. You know what I mean? Like if you want to look for that, it's everywhere and it's so easy to see, you know,
Hmm.
like finding the good stuff harder to find, but it's still there, you know? So that's kind of what that record is about. And it's about this journey of like wanting to get to a place of more positivity with a brighter outlook on life in like, you know, this contemporary world that we live in, but acknowledging the path that it takes to get there and all the pitfalls that are there. So like there's a lot of negativity in these songs, you know, but like for me at least, it's about acknowledging that negativity and being like, hey, here's another thing that you can easily slip into. I did. I lived in that hole for years. Like, but if you just like, you know, go this way, you can find yourself in a better place. So with the paintings, it's sort of the same thing. It's like feeling like at every moment, you know, we're like existing with multiple screens now, right? So like, you know, I'm looking at you on a computer screen. My phone is right here, you know. Like there's just like there could just as easily be a TV screen there playing Netflix, and like you know we're having conversations with each other. There could be text messages coming through on this thing. There's different like email things popping up over here, and like all of that information can just start to melt together into this weird like overwhelming experience. I think, at least for me, I'm just like
Oh
kind of
yeah.
sensitive to like sensitive to stimulation and energy, you know what I mean? And like I get overwhelmed just being like, you know, like one fucking thing at a time, please. I can't like, you know, but anyway, so like
I feel it. I've the
those
same way, like 100%. Like my wife will, I'll go on her, she'll go
yeah,
on my computer and on her computer is like 75 tabs open. She never closes apps out. It like literally gives me anxiety. Like I'm like, don't go. Like every time I tell her, I'm like, every time you go on my computer, I swear to God, like there's some new thing downloaded or some plug in, and it just like free. I'm like, all that stuff just
Yeah,
I can't look at like if there's a bunch of notifications that I don't know. That's so funny that like it that drives me so nuts. Like I just can't handle
it's a
it.
lot, and it like can start to feel like it's hard to have a real experience. Like,
Uh-huh.
what's the difference between the real world that we live in and this simulation of a world that's all around us now? Like those lines are getting super thin and blurry,
Mhm. And
Um,
they're only getting thinner with all the AI stuff.
dude, I've just been seeing like goofy ass videos all week of people like walking into polls wearing those things out in public and stuff, like those like virtual reality. Like it's just like, all right, here we are. But anyway, so the paintings are like this exercise of like trying to just embrace that chaos and like pull from all of these different things like that are just firing in my brain, all of these different responses to all of this stimulation. And it's about like just exploring all that instead of trying to be overwhelmed and freaked out by it. Just be like, yeah, just let it wash over you and like build something out of it and try to make something beautiful out of it. Like try to build something that like means something out of it and figure out what it's like to live then rather than just like feeling like I'm living trying to like shield myself from all of this shit. So it's like, I love art and museums and stuff. So there's a lot of like references to like really famous, art images in those that I'm pulling from. And like, they're not exact copies, but it's my versions of repainting those things. Like
Right.
the main figure in the new album cover painting is like it's my interpretation of Botticelli's Venus from his Birth of Venus painting.
Uh-huh.
But those lips are just from like lipstick ads. And
Oh, interesting.
it's like when you're trying to find a good high res version of Botticelli's Birth of Venus painting, like the amount of ads that you have to like scroll past to
Sure.
get there. So it's just like, it's just exploring that stuff and being like, I'm just gonna embrace it and layer it up like that. And like start with this kind of like stark landscape painting and just build my experience on top of it. Um, and that painting is like specifically it's like it's sort of this life cycle there. So there's like this Birth of Venus figure. There's a skull representing death and not a lot of time left, obviously. And like you know a swan kind of traditionally represents transformation in a lot of ways. So it's like it's about like just like, hey, look, there's not a lot of time here. Just try to find something cool while you're stop focusing on negative shit. Build something cool because like there's not a lot of time, and that's what I'm trying to do with the record.
I love it, man. That's awesome. And you guys finally have that European those shows coming up, right? Did I see that? You
we
get to
Yeah,
actually do
we do. Can you believe it?
it's crazy.
Like,
Finally.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like getting real now. Of like plane tickets on a credit card and stuff. It's like,
Damn.
and like
Yeah,
a bunch of people that are like on the other side of the planet that are like, yeah, don't worry about it. We got you covered. Just
that's
show up
cool.
here.
That's so cool. You're doing that the some of the fest stuff, right? The pre-fest stuff. And you're playing with hot water music on that other big festival. I mean, there's a lot. You guys got a lot of rad stuff coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, we couldn't be more stoked to be on that festival. Those are like, there's a lot of bands that are, you know, have been huge to us, in a lot of ways. And like, to get to travel all the way over there and end up in the same place and get to play the same festival, is, yeah, that's
Yeah.
rad.
Yeah. That Manchester festival looks insane.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's pretty crazy, all the weird friends from weird spaces that are all,
Gonna be there.
gonna be there. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty awesome.
That's really cool. Well, I appreciate both of you for doing this. Thank you so much for coming
Appreciate
on
you
and
having us.
chatting. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
I've one more question.
Go for it.
I want to know, like, if you have any advice to aspiring artists or somebody that's looking into get into this, like any wisdom you could share with them.
Don't be a
I
jerk.
think,
That's a good one. Like,
I,
yeah.
I think, I think
I
that's a
deal with
great idea.
artists. I deal with artists all day. Musicians. I deal with musicians all day. You can just be nice. Don't be a jerk. Just like you can get so much further, if you can be an okay songwriter or musician, you get so much further in this if you're nicer and cooler about it. I'm a prime example of that. I'm not very good musically, but I've gotten pretty okay with, by being not a jerk. But yeah, there's other ones that are way more talented, but like nobody wants to work with them because so it's just that's my advice right now. Sorry.
Love it.
I think
What about you,
that's
Joseph?
I think that's pretty great. Darren, I'm gonna start as soon as this podcast is over. I'm gonna start trying to take a page from that book, and we'll see
Start
how
being
it
nice.
goes. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But I think my first advice about being an artist or a musician would be don't. My,
Give up.
second, my second bit of advice would be just make sure that it's worth it to you. If you're willing to sacrifice everything, then it's the coolest. But like, if you're going to come in half-hearted or half-assed, just like save yourself the time, do something that makes money or do something to benefit the world in a better place. But like, you're willing to like live a completely different life than all of your friends and family and be completely misunderstood for probably the rest of your life, then like you can do some really, really cool shit.